Alright, I will not be finishing the center console out because I'm not an interior guy. But I've got a general layout with the buttons, the window switches, radio, shifter, some proper cup holders, and the back is just kind of whatever, just leftover pieces. All of this needs to kind of come up, so everything's got to get taller. Like, this is literally there just to act as kind of a template for now. However, I got everything wired in. I put as many disconnect connectors on here in places so that it can actually be taken apart easily without having to start pulling individual wiring off of stuff. I think we're ready to hook up the battery and hope nothing catches on fire. And make sure everything works too. Oh, fuck is that? Tunk, 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 tunk. Alright, I got the fuel leak, but rookie mistake on my part. I didn't check the wire I was trying to use for the ignition source for the ECU to make sure that it was powered up during cranking. I just assumed it was. So, the only wire I have coming off my fuse box is this pink one, which is for the ignition coil, and I just got to jumper it so that it gets power to the ECU over there. Pretty much a rookie mistake. Luckily, it's obviously I'm not the only one. It was one of the first things on the troubleshooting page for the ECU stuff. So, whatever, got that taken care of. Should fire up now. Well, I don't like that noise. We didn't do anything with the engine transmission. However, there is a dent in the torque converter cover down there, and I'm guessing that's probably what that knocking noise is. But the car runs, it's a good start, so we're gonna have to pull that cover off, knock the dent out, and we'll try it again. Okay, it was definitely a weight, balancing weight on the torque converter hitting that pan. Oh, now it should be nice and quiet. Fire's right on. Alright. Gauges work. Windows work. 820 RPM idle. Well, that was weird. Why does touching the brake pedal make it die? That doesn't make any sense. That thing's supposed to be wired in for the dang torque converter lockup. Well, it's outside. It drove itself there. Running. Transmission works. Not leaking any fluids anywhere yet, but it also hasn't warmed up all the way, so we're kind of let it run here. See a little bit of smoke coming off the stuff. It looks like it's an exhaust manifold. Probably spilled something on it at some point. Just checked all the fluids. So we got topped off on cranny fluid, power steering fluid. I mean, we never messed with the oil, so that's fine. And I didn't check it anyway. Mostly I'm just worried about the coolant system, whether that's going to stay topped off, because it was being a little weird with it wanting to try to leak out of stuff, and that was awful annoying, so we'll see what happens with that. And other than that, I mean, I know it's going to need an alignment. I'm sure the stuff's all messed up. The door popper on the driver's side is crap. It's just stuck down. It looks like a huge pain in the butt to deal with, and the remote locks for these suicide doors with shaved door handles, as soon as I plug that module in, it blows the fuse. So I'm sure that's shorted out and crapped inside somewhere. Probably gonna have to get another one to replace it, kind of a thing, but I don't know, we're looking like we can drive it around the block anyway. Well, I went around the block with it and it's actually pretty dang good. Like right now, the worst thing is that our door popper deal over there, because it's kind of a pain in the butt to get out, but my mechanical safety release one works a lot better than the one that didn't barely work at all that used to be in there. I just gotta pull on the door a little bit and it'll pop right open, which is great. And I was a little worried about that not working out as well, but no, it's good. And then the passenger side door pops wonderful, so it's just the driver's side. And that one probably got way more use, and I don't know, it just doesn't work. It gets stuck down. I tried spraying a bunch of like penetrating oil and stuff on it. I got it to work a little bit better the other day, but now it's just stuck down completely and won't come back up unless you manually pull it back up. And then you only get one push at it anyway. So unless it like perfectly released the door ain't gonna open. But yeah, I think really I just need a new popper there, and probably gonna have to get a new control box for the remotes. Be a lot nicer if this car just had door handles on it like it's supposed to, but we're chasing problems for the customization of it that somebody did before, just to keep making it work, because I think trying to convert these things back to regular old door handles is going to be way bigger pain in the butt. But yeah, no, it's cool. Unless somebody knows a way to do a manual door handle up here, that'd be actually really good. I'd prefer that for a safety release anyway, for getting out of the car. That'd be way nicer, but then we're still stuck on the outside. We gotta have remotes. It's because of the shaved handles, so it is what it is. But yeah, no, it drives around great. Brakes work awesome. Which, I mean, they should. It's all the Corvette stuff. We literally just transferred it all, redid the lungs. That's the only thing we changed. So yeah, it works good. I'm gonna stand in the garage for this one since it's raining outside, but drove the 50 Coupe today down to work, and then took it over to the shop to get it aligned next to work. And they went through that, looking at the specs there, it was all kind of messed up, which I expected it to be. I mean, it wasn't perfect when it came off of the Corvette, much less how I put it in there. Although they got it pretty much dialed in on camber and tow for a 93 Corvette, and we're not even going to worry about the caster because it's going to be close enough. Learning a few things while driving that thing in. Number one, the defrost sucks. I don't know if it's something that was previously done when it was built before, but like it barely just pushes a little bit of air out of the two corners of the dash. So I think where it's actually blowing up into under the dash is sealed off to the window, so it's not doing a good job. It sucks not having mirrors you can see out of. So I've got side mirrors and a rear view mirror ordered. I mean, luckily there's enough window to be able to, turn around and see where other cars were at. But it was just, I could just tell every time I went to look, just out of habit to check my surroundings, they're just having no mirror suck. Also, driving it home in the rain, we had water dripping out the bottom of the dash, and that looks like, oddly enough, it's where the window wiper goes through the cowl is what's leaking and causing water to drip inside the car. So I'm gonna have to wait until we got a little nicer day, or until I get the maintenance done on the Cutlass here to get it back inside, or to be dry enough, because we're gonna have to get up under the dash and disassemble that wiper pass through, at least enough so that I can get in there and put some good silicone around it to seal it up, because I don't know if there's a gasket in there, or if maybe it's just rotted out from whenever it was put in. But yeah, it's not fun when you're cruising down the highway and then you got water dripping on your boot. Finally got some mirrors put on this thing the other day. We got a rear view mirror up there, and then these are just like generic 60s GM mirrors, which I ended up having to kind of angle in order to try to cover up with the old holes. There was no options that I was finding for a good mirror that was going to cover up the holes from the old mirrors. And the driver's side's not a problem, but as you can see just over the door sill, you can only get about half of the mirror. Maybe 2/3 of the mirror on the other side is being usable from inside the car, which is a heck of a lot better than what the old mirrors were. So it's progress. And then the driver's side one was completely missing the glass, and there was no rear view on the windshield. So now we've got all three. You can see out of all three. It should be a lot safer to drive, because it was a little unnerving driving this thing without any mirrors. Granted, there's lots of glass, it's easy to see out, but it still found myself, I was looking for a mirror that wasn't there. I also got the lovely experience of water dripping onto my boot while driving in the rain, and that was because these window wiper pass-throughs were either not tightened all the way for the rubber gasket to seal, or it was just that bad of a fit that the rubber gasket didn't seal anyway. I've since taken the bowl off the backside, lifted them up, and then packed it full of silicone underneath, put it back down, bolted it down, wiped off the excess that all oozed out everywhere. So now that should be nice and sealed up against any weather, so we shouldn't be leaking water in the car. I mean, it was so much that this thing was parked outside for a day while it rained, and I've had to lift up the carpet, shop vac it, and try to dry everything out with a fan kind of thing. So that was not cool at all, and very unexpected. Also had the throttle was hanging a little bit, although I did find that my throttle cable actually loosened up on the bracket on the engine side. I've since tightened that up. I don't know if it's still going to have a little bit of a throttle hang problem. If it does, we'll just add some springs. Other than that, the only real issue that I'm running into is a little bit of coolant pushing out of the radiator, which granted there isn't a catch can on here right now. But what is weird is that, like, even when I was trying to fill up the system, it kept leaking past the radiator cap. Actually, both of them, because there is a reservoir, you know, to act as an expansion tank, which is why I haven't put an overflow tank on. But when I was trying to fill everything up, like, it kept leaking out of there, and now I've just got a rubber hose over it. So I don't even know if the system is building pressure, despite the fact that they're both brand new caps. And I don't know, it seems awful weird, and like from what I can tell, like it's for sure seating down, like it should be sealed, but it's just, I don't know, it keeps pushing out a little bit. Hopefully I'm hoping it'll just kind of even out on its level. Like, it was never spraying anywhere. I can just see a little residue up on top of the core support cover kind of thing that it was pushing a little bit out, and I don't know, maybe I'll just take both of those and then route them to a container. However, if they're not actually sealing, I'm having the thought process problem of like, well, the reservoir one's the highest, like that's the one we want to use, but if I gotta hook it into both to keep them from leaking, like we're gonna end up with, maybe it'll just drain, and I don't want that either. So still trying to figure that one out. But I mean, this thing has no problem staying cool. It's like 160-ish on the coolant temp. Like, it stays nice and cool. And that was, you know, just idling around the neighborhood or going 70 down the freeway. So it's working pretty good. Well, I'm working on trying to see why the defrost wasn't working, and you got the openings here on each side, but it's really no surprise that, you know, there's really nothing going on here, and this was sealed up tight. You can actually see the line it was touching all the way across. Well, a little bit of quick looking on the internet, and apparently the defrost version of this has a bend where it kicks out almost like a little bit of a louver pull back in order to let air up on the windshield. So I guess I really shouldn't be surprised about this at all, that this is the wrong windshield trim for having a functional defrost. And rather than try to track down one for this, I don't know, I'm finding stuff for the trucks. I don't know if the trucks are exactly the same or not, but either way, this stuff's kind of spendy, so I'm just going to modify this one, since it's already paint matched the car and everything. I'm just going to try to trim it back just enough so that we can get some airflow up there on the windshield.
little bit of slicing the top edge and then bending it out just to get away from the windshield. And then I'm taking some of this Dynamat, cutting it, rolling it into a pad, and then I'm putting it near the screw holes on both sides just to space it out too. Alright, after a lot of cutting and fitting, got the center console roughed in for the most part, so it'll still need to get finished. And the old one was wrapped with leather and it looked real nice. I mean, it was, you know, matching the rest of the interior, but now we've got way heavier duty buttons for the door poppers and stuff, as well as the fuel trunk, passenger door, radio's back in it, the speaker wires, like that kind of connection wasn't real great, so I don't have those hooked up in there right now, but it's there to be able to be hooked up. You got door locks, windows, and then we got the heater control and the fan. So yeah, and then we got big cup holders instead of the dinky little ones that were in there. So this is all in a pretty nice spot to make it all work. So we've got the 50 outside on another day while it's raining. The dash leak is definitely fixed. However, we're still ending up with water inside, which clearly is a windshield leak, and it's same thing over there on the driver's side, in addition to both sides dripping right next to the door, which, thanks to a little bit of dirt, we can kind of see where it's sealed and where it is not sealed. So we're getting water dripping in through here, and the rest of it looks okay. So right here, we're leaking past this door seal, and you can see it's like the only part that's not actually compressed, and then that's just running down the door and dripping onto the sill. So that really sucks there, because that's kind of like I mean, the right way to do it would be grind the paint off and fill in some weld and then raise that area to match better, but I don't think that's really an option here, because there's no way I'm going to get any paint to match on any of this stuff. So the secondary thing would be, maybe I gotta get in behind this seal and put something to kind of fill it out. But this is starting to get annoying with all these leaks. And as far as the windshield goes, like, I mean, it's got a newer seal on it here, but where it's leaking from, I have no idea, and I don't even want to attempt to try to pull that window out without damaging it. That might be something where I gotta get a hold of a window place to do it, or I know on like that car specifically had a window leak, and you can see I ended up running silicone around here, and you can see this because it was just some whatever clear silicone I had, but to go around it with some black silicone wouldn't be the end of the world on this thing, just to try to seal it up. And actually it kind of, you know, we could kind of fill in that gap all the way around and then just kind of smooth it out with a finger. And I mean, you really, unless you're staring right at it, it really shouldn't be that much of an issue. And all the hard part is if it's down here somewhere getting past the glass, which almost looks like it, because you can see water on top of the seal on the inside, so it's definitely leaking around the glass right there, because it's dry over there. You can see that wet spot, so it's running through right there, or it's, you know, somewhere in behind here and then coming up through there. So it's just not really sure what to do about that yet. It's just, man, like, this is the kind of stuff where you don't know until you get to the end of a build, and then this is all the stuff that it may not seem like such a big deal. Be like, oh yeah, just park the car inside. But like, what if you're out going to a show and then you're dealing with rain, and then you're on the way home, and then yeah, the car's starting to fill with water on the inside, and it's just, this is the kind of stuff that takes what could be a really good build and just turns into little annoyances that make it not such a great build.
Well, here we are out driving around. Been driving around for a little over an hour now. Just dropping the boys off and then headed back home. Planning on driving this thing for 3 hours to a family reunion to hand it off to my dad today, so just wanted to make sure that everything's going to be working well. So far, I mean, other than the transmission kind of being a slush box, which, whatever, it's an old automatic, that's just how they are. You know, my downshift there, it's pretty decent, but I mean, otherwise the thing drives nice. It might have just the tiniest little tire rub still on the driver's rear. I only get it every once in a while I'm turning and like hitting a bump. But other than that, I mean, the loud noise went away that it was. I mean, it's driving nice, and like I said, the biggest thing to complain about right now is the transmission just being like kind of wishy-washy in a couple of gears. But if I downshift manually into those gears, it's just fine. So I don't know if we just got stuff that's a little bit sticky maybe in there, but I mean, the more we drive it, the more it should work it out. It's actually getting better the more I drive it anyway. So should be pretty good on that front. The shifter's, I think, a little bit off on the notching compared to the transmission. So I'll probably try to adjust that after I get back home, just to make that a little bit better, because it had where it was pulled down into drive up here on the floor shifter, but it was like kind of halfway between third and fourth, and it was trying, like, you hit a bump and it changed gears. And it was like, oh, that's kind of weird. And then I like pushed it up till it says neutral here on the floor shifter, and then it went into fourth just fine and stayed there. So I was like, okay, well, there's just a small little mismatch there. Well, the transmission shifter thing just ended up being, it was actually the lever on the side of the transmission case was loose. So I was able to tighten that up, and then ended up changing holes a little bit just to line it up a little better with the shifter. So that makes sense, because when I was hooking it back up, like, everything didn't line back up right after I'd pulled the transmission out. So that makes sense now. The lever was just loose. But yeah, it drives nice. I mean, it works. It goes down the road. Everything functions other than the speedometer so far, but maybe we'll get that sorted out here in a little bit. But this is going to be the end of the videos for this car. We've done a complete 93 Corvette swap to it. Engine, transmission, drivetrain, all the suspension. We added 20 inches to the wheelbase compared to the Corvette, but and then a custom tube front end to it as far as the frame rails, and it's just molded into the original Corvette subframe and all welded together, and it works really well. So yeah, This thing, I'm real happy with how it came out. We're grand total here, I think we're 210 hours into this car. About a little under $7,000 of parts. Plus another, I think it was $3,500 or whatever for the Corvette. No, it seems high. $2,400? I don't remember what the Corvette costs, but all in all, we've gone from this being a essentially non-functional car, had a leaky transmission, leaky engine, it didn't want to start, it didn't want to run well. If you drove it down the road, it'd try to throw you in the ditch and kill you every time you hit a bump. And now it's pleasant to drive. This thing will just eat highway miles all day long. It's really nice. Well, till the next project.